How did my wedding turn into a public shutdown when a process server walked up to me at my office the next morning? Why did my husband stay calm, say nothing, and let the legal result speak for him after I laughed at him in front of everyone? My name is Verena Tarrant. I was 34 when I got married, and I still tell myself I earned that day. I worked hard to look perfect. I planned the colors, the music, the seating, the cake. I wanted a wedding that felt like a movie. I wanted people to look at me and think I had won. Evan Caldwell was my husband. He was 35. He worked for the city as a building safety inspector. He was calm and careful. People called him steady, like it was a compliment. To me, it sometimes felt like he was slow. He did not like attention. He did not like jokes that were too sharp. He said he liked peace. I told myself peace was just another word for control. That morning, in the townhouse kitchen, Evan asked if I slept at all. I said I slept enough. He asked if I was nervous. I said I was excited. He watched me drink coffee without eating, and he said I should eat something. I said I did not want to feel heavy in my dress. He looked at me like he wanted to say more, but he did not. My son, Luca, was 7. He ran around the living room with his small suit jacket half on. Evan asked him to slow down. Luca said he could not because today was big. Evan smiled at him and said he would help with the tie later. I noticed Evan did that thing where he got close to Luca without taking over, like he had learned the right distance. I told myself it was cute. Then I also told myself it was easy for him because Luca was not really his. My mother, Diane, arrived early. She wore a bright dress that almost looked like white, but she acted like she did not notice. She hugged me too hard and said I looked like a star. She asked if Evan was behaving. I said he was trying. She laughed and said a man always tried when the cameras were on. My sister Mara came too. She was quieter. She held my makeup bag and asked if I wanted her to keep my phone. I said no, because I needed it. She asked if that was smart. I said it was my day, and I could do what I wanted. Tessa Klein, my best friend, showed up with a little emergency kit and a grin. She owned a salon, and she acted like every moment was a stage. She looked at my dress and said it was perfect and that Evan was lucky. I agreed fast. She asked if I planned to make the room laugh in my speech. I said I had something honest prepared. She said honesty was good, and she winked like we shared a secret. At the venue, the air smelled like flowers and warm lights. The bridal suite was crowded. There were hairspray clouds and people talking over each other. Someone said Evan looked nervous. Someone else said he always looked nervous, like a man waiting for a test. I smiled at that. It made me feel higher. Evan came to the doorway once. He did not step inside because he knew it was not his space. He asked if I needed anything. I said he could stop hovering. He asked if I was okay. I said I was fine and he should focus on not messing up. He nodded like he accepted the role I gave him. He asked one more thing, softly, and he looked at my face, not my dress. He asked if we could keep the vows kind, just for today. I said he was acting scared, and I asked if he thought I was cruel. He said he did not call me cruel, and he only wanted us to start right. I said we already started, and he should relax. He left without arguing. I remember that part, because he did not fight me. A part of me wanted him to. The ceremony itself was smooth. Luca walked down the aisle, holding the pillow, and he smiled like he was proud of himself. I watched the guests turn their heads and lift phones. I liked the sound of people reacting to me. When I walked in, Evan's eyes got wet. He looked like he could not believe I was there. That look always made me feel powerful, like I could give him life or take it away. When we stood together, the officiant talked about love and patience. Evan held my hands carefully. He asked if my ring felt tight. I said it felt fine. He asked if I wanted to pause and breathe. I said no, because I was not weak. He nodded again. After people hugged us, cameras flashed. Everyone said we looked perfect. I heard my mother telling a cousin that I finally got a man who would not leave. I heard Tessa telling friends that Evan was lucky I chose him. I did not correct them. I let it sit in the air like perfume. At the reception, there was a long table with our family. Evan's parents, Ruth and Glenn, sat across from my mother. Ruth smiled politely, but her eyes watched everything. Glenn ate slowly, like he was measuring the room. Mara sat near Luca and cut his food. Luca asked if he could have soda. I said yes, because today was special. There were speeches. Evan's friend Noah said kind things about Evan. He said Evan was loyal and steady. People clapped. When it was my turn, the room got louder. Tessa started it by tapping her glass and chanting my name. My mother lifted her phone and aimed it at me, like she was filming a performance, not a moment. I stood with the microphone and felt the attention land on my skin. I told myself this was my proof. Evan sat there with his hands folded, looking up at me like I was the sun. I began with sweet lines. I said Evan supported me. I said he helped with Luca. I said he worked hard. People smiled. Then I shifted because I wanted the laugh. I wanted to show I was not the soft kind of bride. I said Evan was not the type of man who would sweep me off my feet. I said he was more like a man who would check the railing and tell me the exact weight limit. People laughed. I saw Evan's smile tighten. He asked, without speaking, like his eyes asked, for me to stop. I kept going. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. I said he was lucky I had patience. I said some women wanted fireworks, and I chose a desk lamp. People laughed louder. My mother laughed the loudest. Tessa laughed and slapped the table. I felt that rush, like I had won the room. Evan stood up slowly, and he did not make a scene. He asked me quietly to come down. I said I was finishing. He asked if I meant what I said. I said it was a joke, and he should not ruin my moment. He said he did not want to ruin anything. He said he only wanted respect. I looked at him and felt annoyed, like he had stolen my air. I told him, still holding the microphone, that respect follows results, and I had results. The room reacted. Some people laughed again. Some people went quiet. The officiant moved toward us like he wanted to help. Ruth's face changed. Mara stopped chewing and stared at me. Luca looked up from his plate and asked what was happening. I did not answer him. I smiled at the crowd instead. Evan reached for the ring box on the table. His fingers hovered. He looked at the ring, then at me, then at all the phones pointed at us. He asked me one last time, very low, if I wanted to keep going. I said yes, because I did not think he would do anything. I thought he would sit down like always. He did not shout. He did not curse. He did not grab me. He did not do anything illegal or messy. He simply picked up the ring, held it for a second, and then threw it onto the white tablecloth like it was nothing. The ring bounced once and rolled, shining under the lights. Then he turned and walked away through the crowd, calm and straight, while everyone stared like they had forgotten how to breathe. I stood there with the microphone still warm in my hand. I felt heat in my face, but I told myself it was not shame. I told myself it was anger. People stared like I had spilled a drink on a white dress. Tessa rushed to my side and asked what Evan was doing. I said he was trying to punish me. My mother lifted her phone higher and said Evan was making a scene. I said yes, he always did this when he did not get his way. Mara came closer and asked if I wanted her to go after him. I said no, because I could handle my own husband. I stepped down from the small stage area and moved through the tables. Guests shifted, like they did not know if they should smile or hide. Someone asked if we were okay. I said Evan was being dramatic and childish. Someone else asked if he was drunk. I said he did not drink, he just liked attention in weird ways. I kept talking because silence felt dangerous. Ruth stood up slowly. She did not shout. She asked what I said to him. I said I only joked, and he took it wrong. Glenn looked at me for a long time. He asked if I thought humiliation was love. I said he was overreacting and making me the bad person. He did not answer that. He just nodded once, like he was taking a note in his head. Luca was still at the table, holding his fork. He asked where Evan went. I said Evan needed air. Luca asked if he was mad at Luca. I said no, never, and I touched Luca's shoulder, like that fixed it. Luca looked toward the doors and said Evan promised they would eat cake together. I told him Evan would come back soon. I said it with confidence because I needed it to be true. I walked fast toward the exit. In the hallway near the bathrooms, I found Evan moving away from the ballroom. He was not running. He was not slamming doors. He was just walking with his shoulders straight, like he was leaving an office meeting. I asked him what he thought he was doing. He asked me to stop blocking the hall. I told him he was embarrassing me. He asked how I could say that after what I did. I said I did nothing serious, and he was choosing to ruin our wedding because he could not take a joke. He did not argue in circles like he sometimes did. He asked me one simple thing, and he kept his voice low. He asked if I would apologize. I told him I did not need to apologize for being honest. I said I was the one who worked hard for this day, and he was stealing it from me. He looked at me like he was seeing me clearly for the first time, and that made me feel smaller. I followed him outside to the parking lot behind the venue. The air was cool. The music was muffled through the walls. I saw a few guests drifting out, holding phones and whispering. I hated that they could watch us like a show. Evan opened his car door. I asked if he was leaving me there. He said he was leaving the situation, not leaving me in danger. He asked if I had a ride home. I said of course I did, and I rolled my eyes like I was not shaken. He nodded like he believed me, or like it did not matter. I told him he always acted like the victim. He asked how he was the victim when I mocked him in front of everyone. I said he forced my hand by being cold and stiff and making me feel alone for months. I said I needed warmth and he never gave it. I said I carried the relationship. I kept stacking words, because if I stopped, I might hear myself. He did not take the bait. He asked if I heard myself. I said yes, and I said I was right. He asked if I wanted to talk somewhere private later. I said no, because he should fix it now and go back inside and put the ring on. He said he would not do that. I stepped closer and asked if he wanted to punish Luca too. Evan's face changed at that. He asked me not to use Luca like a tool. I said I was not, and I said he was twisting my words. He took a slow breath. He asked where Luca was. I said Luca was safe inside. Evan said he would check on Luca and then leave. I told him he was not allowed to leave. He looked at me, calm in a way that felt rude. He said he did not need permission to step away from public humiliation. He said he would not fight with me in a parking lot. Then he closed his car door again, without getting in, like he had decided something and did not need to prove it. He walked back toward the building, not toward the ballroom, but toward a side entrance that led to the service hallway. I followed him, but he stopped and turned. He asked me to go back inside and let him speak to Luca. I said I could come too. He said he wanted a short moment with Luca, and he said it would be better if I stayed away. That stung more than the ring toss. I went back inside anyway, but not close enough to stand next to him. I watched him kneel near Luca's chair. Luca said something small with his mouth full. Evan nodded and touched Luca's shoulder once. Luca leaned into him like a habit. Evan stood up and looked at me across the room, then looked away. He did not try to touch me. Tessa grabbed my arm and asked if Evan was coming back. I said he would because he always did. My mother said a man should not be allowed to act like that. I said he was doing it to control me. Mara asked if I wanted to stop filming and posting. I said I needed to protect myself. I told her people would blame me if I stayed quiet, so I posted. I chose a clip where I looked pretty, and the crowd looked happy right before it turned. I wrote a caption that made Evan look unstable without saying anything too clear. I told myself it was fair. I told myself he started the public part when he walked out. Later, the reception kept moving, but it felt fake. People danced in pockets. Some avoided me. Some hugged me too long and said I deserved better. I accepted that like it was truth. When it was finally time to go home, I rode with my mother and Mara because Evan did not answer my calls. On the drive, my mother said Evan was trying to humiliate me. I agreed. Mara said maybe I went too far. I told her she did not understand marriage. I said a man should be able to take a joke if he wanted a strong woman. At the townhouse, the lights were off. Evan's car was not in the driveway. I walked inside and called his name. No answer. I went into the kitchen and saw 2 mugs in the sink, not one. It was a small thing, but it felt like a line. His jacket was not on the hook. His shoes were not by the door. I went upstairs and the guest bedroom door was closed. I tried the handle. It was locked. I stood there, angry, and told myself he was doing this to scare me. I told myself it was childish. Then, in the quiet, I heard a soft click from the office downstairs, like a drawer locking. When Evan finally came in, it was late. He walked in calmly, like he had gone for groceries, not vanished on our wedding night. I asked where he had been. He asked if we could talk in the morning. I said no because he owed me now. He looked tired, but he did not explode. He asked why I needed a fight so badly. I said I needed answers. He pulled out his phone for a second, and the screen lit his face. I saw a calendar alert at the top before he turned it away. It said, "Meeting personal," with a time in the morning. I asked what meeting that was. He said it was personal. I asked if there was someone else. He said no, and he said I should stop guessing. I followed him toward the stairs. He stopped on the first step and looked back. He asked me if I planned to keep humiliating him online. I said I posted because he left. He asked if I understood cause and effect. I said he always talked like a teacher. He went up without another word. I stayed in the hallway, staring at the locked guest room door, and I told myself he was the cruel one for making me feel alone in my own house. I told myself I was still the bride, and that meant I still had power. But in the silence, that belief started to feel like a costume I could not take off. The next morning, I went to work like a person with a normal life. I wore my ring anyway, even though it felt like a lie on my finger. I told myself it was mine, because I had earned it. I kept checking my phone in the car, watching the comments under my post grow. People were choosing sides, and that made me feel safer. If enough people agreed with me, then I could not be wrong. At the dental clinic, the lights were too bright, and the waiting room smelled like mint and plastic. I sat at the front desk and smiled at patients like nothing happened. Kylie Park, my manager, walked by and looked at me longer than usual. She asked if I was okay. I said I was fine and just tired from the wedding. She asked if the videos online were about me. I said people loved drama and made things bigger than they were. She told me to keep it off the clinic page and off the clinic phones. I said I understood, like I was being professional, not warned. A coworker named Jenna leaned on the counter and said she saw the clip. She asked why Evan left like that. I said he was sensitive and wanted to hurt me because he could not control me. Jenna asked if I really called him a desk lamp. I said it was a joke and people had no sense of humor anymore. I laughed, like I was the one who understood life. Jenna did not laugh back. When patients were between appointments, I opened my messages. Tessa had sent me screenshots of people saying Evan was weak. She told me to pin those comments and ignore the rest. My mother had sent a long message telling me to stay strong and not let Evan rewrite history. Mara sent one short line asking if I had slept. I did not answer Mara. Evan texted near noon. He asked if Luca could stay at his parents' house after school for a few hours. He said he had a personal meeting and would bring Luca back before bedtime. I asked what meeting. He said it was personal and he did not want to fight by text. I said he was hiding something. He said he was doing what he needed to do to stay calm. That last line made me mad. Calm always sounded like a moral weapon when Evan used it. I told myself he used calm to make me look crazy. I told myself he was cold on purpose, and coldness pushed people into mistakes. That was the story I liked. Around 2, Blake Moreno messaged me. He said he was still working on the wedding footage and had found extra angles. He asked if I wanted to see them before he sent anything out. I said yes, because I wanted control of what people saw. He said he could show me at his editing spot after work. He added a smiley face, like we were sharing a secret. I should have said no. I did not. I told myself it was business and protection. I told myself Evan started this war, so I could use any tool to win it. In the break room, I ate half a yogurt and stared at my phone. Kylie walked in and asked if I was taking lunch. I said yes. She asked if things were stable at home. I said Evan was being childish, but it would pass. Kylie said she did not want police or screaming at the clinic. I said Evan would never do anything like that. Even when I was angry, I knew that was true. Evan did everything lawful. He was almost boring about it. When my shift ended, I drove to a small co-working space near the river where Blake rented a desk. The place smelled like coffee and printer toner. People sat with laptops like they were in a quiet competition. Blake waved when he saw me and asked if I wanted water. I said yes, like I belonged there. He opened his laptop and showed me clips. In the footage, I looked beautiful. That part pleased me. In other clips, my smile looked sharp, and Evan's face looked hurt in a way I did not want people to see. Blake said Evan looked pathetic in a sad way. I asked what he meant. He said Evan looked like a man who knew he lost before he even spoke. I told Blake that Evan loved playing the victim. Blake said maybe, but the camera did not lie. That irritated me, so I changed the subject. I asked if Blake could cut the footage to make Evan's walkout look more sudden. He asked if that was what I wanted. I said I wanted truth. He smirked and said truth had many versions. Blake asked why Evan cared so much about a joke. I said Evan always made me feel like I had to be smaller to keep him comfortable. I said I spent years softening myself. Blake said I should never soften. He said I deserved someone who matched my energy. I felt warm hearing that, like being praised for being difficult. He asked if Evan ever made me feel wanted. I said Evan was always tired and always responsible. I said he treated love like a checklist. Blake said some men used responsibility to avoid real closeness. I agreed fast because that idea helped me. It made my anger look logical. When I got home, it was early evening. The townhouse was quiet. Evan's car was in the driveway, but it was parked near the street, facing out. The door opened easily, but inside felt divided, like two people lived there without touching the same air. Evan was in the kitchen making pasta for Luca. Luca sat at the table drawing. Evan asked if my day was okay. I said it was fine. I asked where Luca had been. Evan said Luca was with Ruth and Glenn and did homework. Luca looked up and asked if we were all eating together. I said yes, like that proved something. Evan asked if I had met with the videographer. I froze for half a second. I asked why he cared. He said he had received a message from Blake about final payments and file delivery. He asked if I wanted him to handle it. I said I would handle it because Evan always tried to control everything. Evan did not argue. He just said, okay. After Luca went to shower, Evan wiped the counter slowly. He asked if I planned to keep posting about him. I said I only posted because he humiliated me. He asked how I felt humiliated when I was the one with the microphone. I said he abandoned me in front of my family. He said leaving a cruel scene was not abandonment. He said he would not be forced into public shame again. I laughed and asked if he was going to punish me with silence now. He said it was not punishment, it was a boundary. He said he wanted peace for Luca. I said Luca needed a strong mother, not a weak stepfather. Evan's jaw tightened, but he did not raise his voice. He asked me not to speak about him like that around Luca. I moved toward the hallway, and noticed a new folder on the side table near the stairs. The label said, Household. Under it, I saw Utilities and Bank. I asked what that was. Evan said it was boring stuff and he was organizing. I said he was acting like a single man. He said he was acting like a responsible one. Later, when he thought I was upstairs, I heard the soft beep of his phone from the living room. It sounded like an app starting and stopping. I paused on the stairs and listened. There was another beep and then silence. I told myself he was being paranoid. Then I told myself I was the one being watched, and that made me feel angry enough to breathe. In bed, Evan did not come into our room. I lay there and stared at the ceiling, scrolling through comments again. People called Evan weak. People called me cruel. I focused on the ones that praised me. I told myself the internet saw the truth, but in the dark, my phone light felt thin. I kept thinking about the folder labels, the calm voice, the way he did not chase me anymore. I still told myself I was right. I told myself my needs mattered. Still, I could not ignore a new feeling starting under my confidence. It felt like Evan was not losing control. It felt like Evan was gaining it. The next days felt like a long hallway with doors closing one by one. Evan still woke up early. He still made Luca's lunch. He still asked Luca about school, but he stopped asking me how I felt. That scared me more than yelling would have. On Wednesday morning, I walked into the kitchen and saw Evan at the table with his laptop open. A spreadsheet was on the screen, with rows and dates. He clicked it closed fast when he noticed me. I asked what he was doing. He said he was tracking household stuff because things were messy. I said things were messy because he left me at the wedding. He said we were not discussing that in front of Luca. Luca came in rubbing his eyes. He asked if Evan would do school pickup. Evan said yes. Luca asked if I would come too. I said I was busy because I had work. Luca nodded like he understood, but his face looked smaller. That annoyed me in a strange way, because it made me feel like the bad person before anyone said it out loud. At work, Kylie pulled me aside near the supply closet. She asked if I was okay, because people were calling the clinic asking if I was the woman from the video. I said people were obsessed with me and it would blow over. Kylie said it could not happen again. She asked if I could keep my phone away during shifts. I said yes, but I felt insulted. I told myself Evan's dramatic exit had followed me into my job. Tessa texted me during a slow hour and said we should do a girls' night to remind me who I was. She said Evan was trying to break me down with silence. I agreed fast. I needed someone to echo my feelings back to me. I needed a mirror that only showed my good side. That evening, I met Tessa at a small restaurant with bright signs and loud music. She ordered drinks. I ordered something light and took pictures of it for my story. Tessa asked if Evan had apologized yet. I said no, because he was stubborn and proud. Tessa said men hated being laughed at. I said he deserved it because he always made me feel small at home. Tessa nodded and said I should not accept dry love. Blake messaged while I was there. He asked how I was holding up. I said it was chaos. He said he could pick me up and we could talk somewhere quiet. I told him I could handle it. Then I told him I missed being seen. He replied with a line about how I was never meant to be ignored. I stared at that message longer than I should have. When I got home, Evan and Luca were in the living room building a small model car. Luca looked up and smiled at me like he was relieved. Evan nodded once and asked if my dinner was okay. I said it was fine. I asked if Luca had done homework. Evan said yes, and he pointed to a page on the coffee table. I noticed the page had neat writing and a teacher stamp. Evan had even signed the bottom line. That kind of care used to feel comforting. Now it felt like proof that he could do everything without me. After Luca went to bed, I followed Evan into the kitchen. I asked if he was going to keep acting like a stranger. He asked what I wanted. I said I wanted my husband back. He asked which version I wanted, the one I respected or the one I mocked. I said I mocked him because he never listened. He said he listened plenty, and I only heard what helped me. I asked if he was recording me now. He looked at me without blinking. He asked why I thought that. I said because I heard beeps, and because he was making folders, and because he was acting like a lawyer. He said he was not acting like a lawyer. He said he was acting like a man who needed order. He asked if I planned to twist his calm into cruelty. I said he was already doing that to me. He went to the hallway closet and took out a small box. I thought it was something important. It was only printer paper. Still, the way he handled it made my chest tight. He set it down and said he needed to print school forms tomorrow. I asked why he was doing school forms. He said he wanted Luca's routine to stay stable. I said Luca's routine was stable before Evan made a scene at our wedding. Evan said Luca's routine was stable because Evan kept it stable. The next afternoon, I went to the school pickup line for the first time in days. I wanted to show Evan I still had a place. I also wanted to see if other parents recognized me. I sat in my car and watched people. 2 moms looked at me and whispered. One woman smiled like she knew something. I felt my skin crawl. Evan's car pulled in behind me. It was clean, like always. I noticed a small dash cam sticker on the windshield that I did not remember seeing before. Evan waved at Luca when Luca came out. Luca ran to Evan first, then came to me. Luca asked if we could all go to the playground like before. I said maybe. Evan said we could do 10 minutes if homework was done. At the playground bench, Luca climbed and slid and tried to act normal. Evan stood nearby, hands in his jacket pockets, watching Luca with steady eyes. I sat on the bench and watched Evan, waiting for him to crack. I wanted him to plead. I wanted him to admit he overreacted. He did none of that. I asked him quietly if he even loved me anymore. He said love did not survive ridicule well. I said that was dramatic. He said it was simple. He asked if I remembered asking for kind vows. I said yes. He asked if I remembered my answer. I said I told him not to be scared. He nodded like he had expected that. Luca came over and asked if Evan would come to his school event on Friday. Evan said yes. Luca asked if I would come too. I said I would try. Evan did not look at me, but he said Luca should not worry about adult problems. Luca said he wanted us to be happy. Evan said they would focus on Luca's happiness. That night, Evan said he wanted to take Luca to his parents' house for dinner. He asked if I wanted to come. I felt like it was a test, so I said yes. I told myself I belonged there. I also told myself Ruth needed to see me as the victim, not Evan. At Ruth and Glenn's dining room table, the food was warm and the room felt too quiet. Ruth asked how work was. I said it was stressful because people judged me. Ruth asked why people judged me. I said because Evan left me at the wedding and made me look abandoned. Glenn asked what I said in my speech. I said it was jokes and everyone laughed. Glenn said everyone laughed until Evan stopped playing along. Ruth looked at Evan and asked if he was sleeping. Evan said he slept fine. Ruth asked if he was eating. Evan said yes. Ruth asked if he was handling things properly. Evan said he was handling them calmly. He did not say more. He did not glance at me. He just cut Luca's food and asked Luca about school. Luca talked about a math game. Mara called me while we were there, but I did not pick up. I did not want my sister's weak concern in front of Ruth. I wanted control. I wanted to look unshaken. After dinner, I went to the bathroom and saw a sticky note on a small shelf near Evan's jacket. It said, in plain writing, "Bring forms." I stared at it too long. When I came out, Evan was already putting on Luca's coat. Ruth asked me, softly, if I understood what I was risking. I said I was risking nothing because I did nothing wrong. Ruth did not argue. She just stepped back like she had heard enough. On the drive home, Luca fell asleep. Evan kept both hands on the wheel. I watched his face in the streetlights. I wanted to ask him who he was meeting. I wanted to demand he stop whatever plan he was building. But I did not ask, because I was afraid of the answer. When we got home, Evan carried Luca inside and laid him down. I went into the kitchen and opened the fridge too hard. Evan came in and asked me not to slam things because Luca was sleeping. I said I could not live like this, in silence. Evan said it was not silence, it was distance, and distance was what he needed to stay lawful and sane. I told myself he was trying to scare me with big words. I told myself I could still turn the story. Still, when I saw him place his mug on the far side of the counter again, like a boarder, I felt something I did not want to name. The week after the wedding, I started living like I was under judgment. Every sound felt like proof of something. Every quiet moment felt like a trap. On Monday morning, Evan was already dressed when I came downstairs. He had a clean shirt, his city badge, and a lunch bag. Luca sat at the table eating cereal. Evan asked Luca if his backpack had his folder. Luca said yes. Evan asked if Luca wanted apples or crackers. Luca said apples. Evan packed them like it was normal life. I wanted to break that calm. I wanted a reaction. So I asked Evan, in a sweet voice, if he planned to keep punishing me. He looked at me and asked what punishment I meant. I said the silence, the distance, the way he acted like a guest. He said he was not punishing me. He said he was protecting himself. I laughed and told him he was acting like a victim again. He did not laugh. He asked if I remembered the speech. I said yes, but it was a joke. He said it was not a joke to him. He asked if I could admit that. I said I could admit he had weak skin. Evan did not argue. He just turned to Luca and asked if Luca was ready to go. When they left, I stared at the empty kitchen like it had betrayed me. I opened my phone and scrolled through the wedding comments again. The clip was still moving around. Some people defended Evan now. That made me panic. I messaged Tessa and asked her to post something supportive. She said she would, but she asked if Evan had something planned. I told her no, because I needed to believe that. At work, Kylie called me into the small HR room by the back hallway. She asked why a person had called asking for my schedule. I said I had no idea. Kylie asked if I was having domestic problems. I said my husband was being dramatic, but he was harmless. Kylie said harmless was not the same as stable. She told me to keep my private life away from patients. I said I would, while my throat felt tight. When I walked back out, I checked my phone. There was a missed call from no caller ID, no voicemail. I stared at it. I told myself it was spam. Still, my hand shook a little. That night, when Evan came home, he did not go straight to the couch like before. He went to the office corner and opened a drawer. I heard the drawer click, then a second click, like a lock. The sound was small, but it felt like a door closing in my face. During dinner, I tried a new angle. I asked Evan if he still wanted this marriage. He asked what this meant. I said us. He said he wanted a healthy marriage, not a performance. I said marriage was always a performance, and if he could not handle my personality, that was his problem. He asked if I heard how cold that sounded. I said he made me cold by neglecting me. He asked calmly if I had been faithful. My heart jumped, but I kept my face steady. I asked why he would ask that. He said he noticed changes and gaps. He said he noticed my phone habits and my late nights. He said he noticed the way I talked about Blake's messages, like they were business, but they did not sound like business. He said he was not accusing. He said he was asking. I turned it back on him. I asked why he was spying on me. He said he was not spying, he was paying attention. I said paying attention was just a softer word for control. He said control was what I wanted, not him. He said I wanted a crowd to confirm me. Luca looked up from his plate and asked why we talked like that. Evan's face softened. He told Luca that adults sometimes disagreed, but Luca was safe. I said Luca did not need to hear Evan's lectures. Evan asked me to stop. He said he would not argue in front of Luca. Then he stood up and took his plate to the sink, ending the conversation like a judge. Later, I went to the guest room door. It was still locked. I knocked and asked if he planned to sleep there forever. He opened it halfway, just enough to look at me. He asked what I needed. I said I needed my husband, not a stranger hiding behind locks. He said he was not hiding. He said he was choosing distance because closeness with disrespect was poison. I told him I would not be treated like a criminal in my own house. He asked why I used that word. I said, because he acted like he was collecting evidence. He did not deny it. He said he was collecting clarity. He said he was done being confused. The next day, I did something I thought would force him back. I posted another story clip from the wedding with a caption about how some men cannot handle strong women. Tessa reposted it with laughing emojis. My mother commented heart emojis. For 1 hour, I felt safe again. Then Evan's cousin messaged me. She said I should take the post down. She said it was cruel and it could have consequences. I replied that consequences were for people who did something wrong. I told her Evan chose this. She stopped replying. That evening, Evan came home with Luca and a bag of groceries. He moved around the kitchen like a man following a plan. He did not mention the post. That made me even more nervous. I asked if he saw it. He said yes. I asked if he was angry. He said anger did not help him. I asked what helped him. He said facts. I snapped and asked if he was planning to ruin me. He asked what I meant by ruin. I said my reputation, my job, my life. He said I was the one putting my life online. He said he had asked me to stop and I refused. He said he would not beg for decency. He said he would respond properly. That word hit like a cold coin. Properly. I tried to laugh. I asked if he was going to call my mother and complain. He said no. I asked if he was going to shout at my friends. He said no. I asked if he was going to expose me like people did online. He said no, because he was not a child. He said he would do it the right way. I felt my stomach drop. I asked what the right way was. Evan looked at me, calm and tired, and he said he would handle it properly. Then he turned to Luca and asked Luca to wash his hands, like the whole world had not shifted. That night, I sat alone in our bedroom and listened to the house. The refrigerator hummed. A pipe clicked. Somewhere downstairs, a printer started, fed paper, and then stopped. I heard it spit out a page, then silence again. I stared at my phone until my eyes hurt. I told myself I could still fix it. I told myself Evan would not really go through with anything. But deep down, I knew he already had. I walked into the office tower lobby like it was any other morning. I had my clinic badge on. I had coffee in my hand. I told myself I was still the bride, and the internet would keep protecting me. Kylie was there because she said she needed a quick word about boundaries and phone use. I said I understood. I said my home life would not touch my work again. I meant it, in the way people mean things when they are scared. A man in a plain jacket stepped toward us. He asked if I was Verena Tarrant. I said yes, and I felt annoyed that a stranger said my full name out loud. He asked me to confirm my address. I said I did not need to tell him anything. He said he only needed to confirm identity and deliver documents. He held out an envelope. Kylie asked what this was. The man said it was legal service. My mouth went dry. I took the envelope anyway, because my hands moved before my pride could stop them. I saw Evan across the lobby, near the glass doors. He was not hiding. He was not smirking. He stood with his shoulders straight and his hands empty. He looked like a man waiting for a bus, not a man ruining a life. I walked toward him with the papers shaking. I asked how he could do this to me in public. He said he did not choose the lobby. He chose the process. I asked why he was acting like I was dangerous. He said he was acting like I needed limits. I looked down and saw the words I did not want to see. It was a divorce filing. It listed dates. It listed the wedding video and the posts. It listed harassment and public shaming in simple terms. It also had temporary rules. It said we had to separate finances until the court sorted it out. It said I could not drain accounts or run up debt in his name. It said he had temporary use of the townhouse and I had to arrange another place to stay. It also laid out a temporary schedule for Luca, with school pickup and bedtime routines written like a timetable. I tried to laugh. I said he was overreacting and trying to scare me. Evan said he was done being laughed at. He said he asked for kindness once. He said I chose the crowd instead. Kylie asked if I needed to sit down. I could not answer. I just stared at the page where the date was printed, and I realized he really filed the next day.